And we're live. What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp here. It is February 11th. We have NXT Takeover Vengeance Day this weekend. And a reminder, we'll have live coverage. We'll have a post-show podcast. We'll have the Triple H post-show media call. We have the pre-show media call up right now where Triple H talks about Rick Steiner's son, Parker Boudreaux, the Brock Lesnar clone, talks about Edge, Velveteen Dream, Steve Cutler, a whole lot of stuff. And this Sunday on youtube.com/Fightful Scraps, we're going to do a watch along. We're trying to get those watch hours up so we can monetize it. But we've got a friend of the show on. You've probably seen him on the Among Us gaming stream. A true criminal in that game is Tempest. Tempest, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. You've been talking with Hannah, I see. She's not a fan of mine because of those streams.
Exactly.
Yes. Among Us is always a good time, so make sure you check out those streams if you haven't already. But I'm doing good, man. You know, as we were saying just before the show starts, I don't actually have to work the night of NXT TakeOver, so I might actually get to enjoy a WWE show.
Yeah, it's every single week, like I want to say 4 or 5 days before, I realize, oh, wait, I can't do the NXT post show because I'm going to do the media call because I've got the software and all that stuff to do it. So every week I'm like, oh yeah, hey Jeremy, by the way, you're doing this. And this week he already planned for it. So you guys will be able to see me on the watch along on youtube.com/Fightful Scraps. But we're going to make our predictions. Of course, you can see Tempest's work over on WrestleTalk. You just started your own YouTube channel though.
I did. It was very exciting. I was very happy with the launch yesterday. Of course, I was just like, my following on Twitter is, I would say, moderate at best. So you never really know what kind of expectations to have for something like this. But I was very happy with how it went. You know, my first video is up. You can check that out right now. The channel is Tempest the Wrestler on YouTube. So you can check out my first video. It's AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling, what to expect from their new working relationship. I kind of go into detail about the context of why they didn't work together at the start, at the launch of the company, kind of go into detail about some of the things that not as many people are talking about in terms of what we can hope to see once the pandemic is over, from like young lions being involved and being sent on excursion, and the other way around as well, with teams like maybe Top Flight being sent to Japan. Maybe see them in like a best of the Super Juniors or the World Tag League or Super Junior Tag League or anything like that. And of course, getting into some of the dream matches that you might see as well. So it's a good time, but we're going to have a bunch more content coming on that platform, including a video on NXT in the near future.
How fitting. I definitely encourage you guys to check that out. We'll post the link to his channel in the description below, but NXT is this weekend. I thought they ended with an uncharacteristically fantastic go-home show because WWE go-home shows, like in our staff chat, we're like, it's a go-home show. There won't be much of anything. There was a lot of stuff on last night's show. One of them being a hilarious promo from Johnny Gargano, who is defending his North American Championship against Kushida. Now, one of the things I love about this is Kushida has been winning. He's been winning a lot. So it's not like the main roster where Jeff Hardy or Sheamus or somebody gets a title shot and they've won one singles match over the last few months. Kushida has been beating people. Do you think that he beats Johnny Gargano on Sunday?
Well, this one to me is perhaps the hardest result to pick on the night because we've seen the North American Championship kind of bounce around a lot in the last few months. You know, went from Damian Priest, you had Johnny Gargano win it, Leon Ruff, back to Johnny Gargano. And maybe that means that Gargano is going to have now a longer run, but I also don't really see like an end game goal for him as champion. It's not like they're building to a big program with someone else. So in that case, why not finally give Kushida something to really sink his teeth into? Because aside from like the win over Velveteen Dream last fall, he really hasn't done anything. And it's been 2 years since he signed with NXT. So why not have him win this title? Because it doesn't really mean anything otherwise, like anyway.
The man didn't have a locker for a long time. I would talk to people in NXT and they're like, man, they don't have a locker for Kushida. And then people that would get ones before him. I know of at least one person that went to management and they're like, this doesn't feel right. I think I'm going to get heat for this. Can you please give him one? Like, because I mean, the reputation that Kushida brought with him is, I mean, unmatched over what we've seen in NXT over the past couple of years. And Kushida is what really is. He's the one who really made me pay attention to Japanese pro wrestling years ago. I mean, like I would cover it and I would start to consume as much of it as I could because of Kushida and because of some of his matches with Kyle O'Reilly, especially. So I would love to see that. And I honestly would love to see them then go into a feud with Kyle O'Reilly, because that's an untapped resource that we haven't quite seen in NXT. Johnny's held this title 3 times. Now, granted, the other times were a couple weeks, and this is his longest reign. He's doing, I think, some of the best work of his career as a character here as well. But I don't mind it bouncing around as much. Like, I know that a lot of the Sasha Banks stands for years were like, oh my gosh, she could never defend a title. I thought one of the best eras of the brand split on Raw was when they were hot potatoing that title, because it made it exciting. This one hasn't been hot potatoed as much, but as you mentioned, the reigns have been a little bit shorter here. I think they might pull the trigger on Kushida, because Johnny playing this like fake oppressed heel is working so well.
I would agree. If I have to make a pick, I'm going with Kushida, because in the grand scheme of things, like, Kushida has been really one of the last big signings that NXT has had, and they still haven't really done a whole lot with him. Now, it's been 2 years since that happened. So if they gave him something like this, it really kind of puts a new face into that, main event, upper mid card picture that they've desperately needed on NXT recently. And I mean, like you said, Kushida's reputation is fantastic. His biggest gripe to me is that he doesn't have like that charisma necessarily that a lot of the other, like, he's not Shinsuke Nakamura coming in where he's just, he's a charisma machine. But I think you can do a lot more with Johnny Gargano losing this match and being frustrated and throwing a hissy fit and being the heel character that he is. If Kushida loses this, I think he just like falls back down the card and doesn't do anything. So I would see Kushida winning this one.
Men's Dusty Rhodes Tag Classic, Grizzled Young Vets against MSK. MSK has been delivering in the ring so well since they came up. That match last night was unreal. And the Grizzled Young Vets, I mean, they are delivering. They seem like they are such a good fit in NXT. Perhaps a year late, but I think Grizzled Young Vets should win. However, I'm going to look at how WWE books things, and I'm like, okay, well, who are the champs? Lorcan and Birch. They like to go babyface versus heel, so probably MSK. How do you feel?
See, it's interesting, because I was going to go Grizzled Young Vets until you'd said that. I hadn't taken into account that Lorcan and Birch are currently the tag team champions, because I agree. I think that Grizzled Young Veterans really kind of need something, and it's interesting to see, for once, 2 actual tag teams in the finals of the Dusty Classic as opposed to just a thrown together pairing. But I do think that MSK has just been fantastic since debuting. I never really watched a ton of Impact in recent years. I would see it from time to time and always be impressed by the Rascals, but seeing them in NXT has been one of the first times where I can really like sit back and just go like, oh wow, these guys could be like a top tag team, in any company that they sign with. They're not just, a couple of fun comedy characters or anything like that. They're just fantastic workers. So purely just based on the next match coming up against Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch, I do think MSK can pull this one off. And again, it'll be kind of interesting to see what Grizzled Young Veterans do losing this tournament 2 years in a row in that case.
I also fear the same for the Women's Dusty Tag Classic. Now, here's the thing. Love Shotzi Blackheart's work, love Ember Moon's work, but Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai should be undeniable right now, and they should be the tag champions. I fully believe that, and they should be doing whatever. But here's the thing. More than just Triple H is going to have a say in this because of the direction of the women's tag team titles. And because WWE loves to do that, and Nia and Shayna are the tag champs, right now I look at it and I'm like, okay, well, Shotzi and Ember. But Lana and Naomi could very well be transitional champions for Raquel and Dakota, which is what I hope happens. because Raquel and Dakota deserve this. And this also plays a role into who I think will win the NXT Women's Championship later, because Raquel, she's got star written all over her right now. How do you think this one goes?
I think that WWE and NXT in particular are super high on Raquel Gonzalez right now, and I think that's going to play into the result of this match. You know, we have another match to get to with the not the North American title, the women's title in NXT, and I think we're going to see some of the fallout from War Games where Io Shirai and Raquel Gonzalez were involved in the finish of that match. I think WWE uses this this Dusty Rhodes Classic final to springboard Raquel Gonzalez into that main event picture. I don't see them taking the fall in this one. They might do something where they don't necessarily win the tag titles on the main roster, but I think using this match, I can't see Raquel Gonzalez losing a match when she is so clearly got to be the next challenger for the women's champion.
So as you mentioned, Women's Championship, Io Shirai defends against Toni Storm and Mercedes Martinez. If Raquel and Dakota do not become women's tag team champions, it's got to be Raquel. They cannot hold this off anymore. It's been simmering for a while. She, again, is an undeniable star. It's got to be her, but who's the person that she faces? I think Io is primed for that. All due respect to Toni Storm. I like what she's doing, but I don't necessarily see her taking this title from Io. Mercedes, I couldn't see it either, because I don't think that they would want to have Raquel crush Mercedes. They're very similar in that regard, except Mercedes has more years behind her, so to speak. How do you think this one goes?
I pretty much agree. Something about this match where I think it's going to be really good. It should be one of the better matches on a pretty stacked card. And I think Toni Storm and Mercedes Martinez could both be NXT Women's Champions in the future. Like, they both have that level of talent. This to me just seems like one of those takeover matches where they're not ready to change the title. Like, these particular wrestlers are not the ones they want to shift the title to, but they need a match for takeover. So let's just have a couple of really good wrestlers face the champion and have the champion have a good, solid match and retain. Kind of like how Asuka used to have matches against Ruby Riott and Nikki Cross. This to me seems like very much of the same sort of thing. And just from a matchup perspective, like you said, Raquel Gonzalez has to be the next challenger. And facing Io Shirai just makes the most sense. So I see Io retaining.
The good old days when Asuka defended her championship. So long ago. Speaking of defending championships, Finn Balor defends against Pete Dunne. Personally, I mean, I'm sure the match is going to be great. I cannot be less interested in Finn Balor as champion. It feels like the last few months, or the last 4 or 5 months, have lasted forever, because Finn Balor was not on the show for a long time. But it's like every feud is built. I'm going to break your jaw. I just broke your jaw. Remember that time that guy broke your jaw? Well, now I'm going to break your jaw. Let's talk more about breaking jaws. I'm like, okay, I get it. That really happened. And I was mentioning, like, every NXT big match promo seems the same now. It's okay. You're making reference to the fact that Finn Balor has like the cat gimmick or whatever. And I'm like, okay. Well, I'm going to throw the cat in the bathtub. Oh, all right, cool. I'm sure it's going to be a great match. I don't think Pete Dunne's going to win it. I think Finn Balor wins it. It would not surprise me to see Pat McAfee pop up here, though.
I'll be honest. Ever since Finn Balor said that one line about kitty litter like 3 months ago, like, he's been tainted in my eyes. Yeah, this to me is a morsel of the bigger problem with NXT right now. Is I feel like so much of the main event scene is just completely stale. And I love Finn Balor. He's one of my absolute favorite guys under the WWE umbrella. But him as NXT champion again, like, I know he's a heel this time. Well, quote unquote heel. He's kind of morphed back into a baby face, but he has more of that edge than he had the first time. But just, like, there's nothing to it for me. Like, and again, it to me feels like they don't have a direction for NXT right now. Like there isn't some end goal that they're trying to work towards that they had for years, whether it was, the Gargano and Ciampa feud, which was for like 3 years. Everyone knew we're building to that match and it kept getting delayed, but we were always building to that match. We didn't know how we would get there, but we were going to build to that match. And same thing with Sami Zayn, chasing the NXT Championship. Same thing with Finn Balor and Samoa Joe the first time. There was always that end goal in sight that you knew that NXT had a plan. To me, right now, it doesn't feel like NXT has a plan. They're just kind of like, oh, that would be a good match. Let's book that on TakeOver, Like, Kyle O'Reilly as a single star is like, he's fantastic, and I think that's cool and something different, but these are all still guys we've seen in NXT for like 3 years, 4 years.
The element of something fresh is gone. I mean, they tried it with Karrion Kross, and it makes no sense that the guy is coming back and going after the cruiserweight champion right now. I mean, from a grander perspective, I mean, unless he says, well, I wanted to make sure I was 100%, but that's not something that character is going to say. The character's probably not going to care. But guys, make sure you all leave a thumbs up. We will be live on youtube.com/FightfulScraps this Sunday. We've got the Triple H media call up on this channel right now. We'll have the post-show media call up as well, and then the post-show after on Sunday. But Tempest, tell the people where they can find you, where they can follow you.
Absolutely. So, of course, you can find me on Twitter at TempestWT and give me a follow there. Of course, you can follow all of the work that I've been doing on WrestleTalk, both the YouTube channels and the website, as I am currently about to publish yet another story on our fabulous website, of course, quoting the lovely Sean Ross Sapp as well. So make sure that you go and follow us, support WrestleTalk, and you can subscribe to my new YouTube channel, Tempest the Wrestler. This is going to be a lot more kind of like video essay-based deep dive analysis on pro wrestling. I got a ton of ideas coming, with one in the pipeline, hopefully coming in the next week or so. I'm very excited to be making more content like this, so make sure you give it a subscribe and support your boy.
Guys, check it out. I will have the link in the description below. Tempest, I want to thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, man. This is fun.
It was. We're going to have to do it again. Guys, some of you asked, hey, where can I watch those Among Us streams? We have a Twitch, twitch.tv/FightfulGaming, as Joel Pearl mentions. Lots of stuff over there as well. We're all over the place. Until next time, guys, we're out.